What if I told you your entire life is being shaped by thoughts you don't even know you're thinking? Not the loud ones, the quiet ones, the ones that loop in the background. You're not good enough. You'll never get there. What's the point? These aren't harmless. They're commands. And your brain is obeying them, day after day, action after action, without question. The Stoics believe that power begins not with muscles, money, or fame, but with mastery of thought. Because where your focus goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your life follows. But here's the problem. In a world filled with distraction, noise, and shallow validation, your attention is under attack. You're not unfocused because you're weak. You're unfocused because the system profits from your mind being scattered. And if you don't take back control, someone else will take it for you. In this video, we're going to uncover why your thoughts are your most valuable asset and how to train them like a warrior sharpens his blade. You'll learn how to rewire your brain, build emotional discipline, and unlock a level of inner power you've been told doesn't exist. You're not alone in this. Every strong man you admire started by mastering the battlefield within. So if you're ready to stop reacting and start responding with purpose, stay with me. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's begin. 1. Heal the mind, heal the body. You feel it in the pit of your stomach. The tension, the shallow breath, the tightness in your chest that won't go away. And yet when you check your vitals, the doctor says you're fine. But you're not fine. You're overwhelmed, drained, restless. And the worst part is, you don't even know why. It's easy to blame your body, to say you're tired because you didn't sleep, or stressed because work is demanding. But the root runs deeper. Long before your muscles tighten or your heart pounds, there is a thought that slips in unnoticed, whispers something small, something negative, and your body listens. It always does. Stoic philosophy understood this long before neuroscience caught up. They taught that the body follows the mind like a shadow follows form. If your mind is unsettled, your body will echo that disturbance. And today, modern science confirms what the Stoics lived, that your thoughts trigger chemical responses, shaping how your body feels, heals, and functions. When you think with fear, your nervous system shifts into high alert. When you dwell in worry, your digestion slows, your immunity weakens, and your sleep breaks. And when you carry resentment, your body burns quietly with the inflammation of unspoken anger. This is not about optimism. It's not about repeating mantras and hoping your problems disappear. It's about acknowledging the undeniable truth. Your thoughts are not abstract. They are biological. They are chemical. They leave fingerprints on your nervous system and scars in your tissue. And the longer you let chaotic thoughts run unchecked, the more damage they do. But here's the shift. Once you realize your thoughts are commands, not commentary, everything changes. You don't need to wait for your body to break before you listen. You can intervene, not with medication first, but with awareness. You wake up and the first thing you feel is heaviness. Instead of rushing into the day, you pause. You ask, what am I carrying that my body is trying to express? You drink water slowly. You breathe deeply before checking your phone. You give your nervous system a signal. Calm is in control now. That signal travels. It tells your heart to slow down, your gut to digest, and your immune system to repair. This isn't magic, it's biology. And the best part is, it's repeatable. Yet most men ignore this. They push through. They dismiss the headaches, the irritability, the tension as weakness. But it's not weakness. It's a message. A message that the thoughts you've been feeding yourself are poisoning more than just your peace. They are sabotaging your focus, your strength, your clarity. So many live as if the mind and body are strangers. They go to the gym for their body and scroll through chaos into their mind. They meditate once, but live the rest of the day in a storm of reaction. No wonder they feel disjointed, fatigued, and lost. The Stoics didn't talk about wellness as a trend. They practiced it as alignment. Marcus Aurelius journaled not to feel good, but to return to clarity, to untangle the knots of the mind so the body could follow in peace. Seneca reminded his students that a man disturbed inside would bring disease to his outer life. These men didn't wait until the crisis. They sharpened thought daily, because they understood it shaped everything else. If you want strength, you need stillness. If you want clarity, you must command your inner noise to quiet. This begins not in clinics, but in morning silence, not in supplements, but in solitude. You change your health by changing the tone of your inner voice. Start simple. Begin tomorrow by sitting in silence for 2 minutes before anything else. Don't analyze, don't react, just watch the storm. Then breathe like you're not in a rush to prove anything. Drink your first glass of water like it's fuel, not just hydration. That's it, no app, no equipment, just you taking control of what truly shapes you. Because no workout, no doctor, no prescription can undo the harm of a mind left unchecked. But one calm, intentional thought can shift your entire physiology. And once you understand that, you'll never see stress, fatigue, or discomfort the same way again. You'll trace it back to the mind. And that's where your healing will begin. 2. Rewrite the voice in your head. You wake up before the sun. The world is quiet, but your mind isn't. Before your feet hit the floor, the voice starts. You're behind. You should be further than this. Don't mess it up today. That voice doesn't scream, it whispers. And that's why it's so dangerous. It sounds like you. Self-talk isn't just background noise. It's your inner script. It runs 24/7. And most men don't even know it's happening. They hear it, but they never question it. They let that voice define what they do, how they feel, and who they think they are. You might believe you're logical, that your choices are based on facts, but much of what you do comes from the beliefs that voice repeated every day. And the voice doesn't care if the beliefs are false. If it's been repeated enough, it sounds true. The brain follows repetition, not truth. Say a lie to yourself long enough. I always screw things up. I'm not as smart as them. I never finish anything. And your nervous system builds that belief into your identity. Not because it's real, but because it's familiar. You're not lazy. You're not weak. But you may be hypnotized by a voice that was never yours to begin with. Maybe it was a parent, a teacher, a failure you never unpacked. That voice stayed, and now it speaks for you. Stoic philosophy doesn't tell you to drown that voice. It teaches you to confront it, question it, and rewrite it. Marcus Aurelius, a man with absolute power, still wrote each morning to clear his thoughts. Why? Because he understood the mind could be a tyrant without discipline. The modern world amplifies the negative voice. Social media, comparison, endless notifications, each one adds fuel to the belief that you're falling behind. And yet, no app tells you how to talk to yourself when you're alone. No one teaches that your inner dialogue is more powerful than your external achievements. But the Stoics knew. They knew that peace doesn't come from a quiet world, it comes from a quiet mind. That begins when you change the script. When a mistake happens and the voice says, "You're a failure," you pause. You say, "I made a mistake. I'm learning." When the voice says, "They're better than you," you respond, "I'm not in their race." When the voice says, "You'll never make it," you reply, "Watch me." These aren't affirmations, they're corrections. You're training your brain like an athlete trains his body, through small, consistent input. But here's where most men go wrong. They try to silence the voice through distraction. Alcohol, noise, work, anything that stops them from hearing it. They treat the symptom, not the source. The Stoic approach is different. You don't run from the voice, you bring it into the light. You write it down, you hold it up and ask, is this thought useful? Is it true? Is it mine? And slowly, thought by thought, you reclaim your mind. No one will do this for you. No one else hears the voice in your head, and that's why it's your job to master it. If you let it run wild, it will sabotage your focus, your discipline, your relationships, everything. But if you confront it, challenge it, and reshape it, it becomes a weapon for clarity. One quiet morning can be the turning point. You sit with a journal and write exactly what that voice says. You don't filter. You haven't corrected it yet. You just observe it. That's the first act of control. Then you pick one line, the harshest one, and write the opposite. Not a delusion, a truthful counter. If the voice says, "I'm too late to change," you write, "I'm still here. I can start now." And tomorrow, you repeat that again and again until the old line fades. This is how Stoicism becomes alive. Not in books, in the space between two thoughts. The moment you choose a new one, not because it sounds good, but because it gives you your life back. You are not the voice in your head. You are the one who decides which voice stays. And that decision, quiet, private, invisible, is the foundation of power. Start with one line. Change one phrase you say to yourself each day. Let it settle into your breath, into your posture, into the way you show up. One word can anchor a new identity. One thought, repeated with strength, can dismantle years of doubt. That's how you reclaim your mind. That's how you become unshakable, quietly, repeatedly, one internal word at a time. 3. Master your emotions, master your focus. You think you've planned the day, tasks lined up, priorities clear, but then a message comes in, something insulting, careless, disrespectful. In seconds, your heart rate spikes, jaw tightens, thoughts scatter. You're no longer responding, you're reacting. The plan you made? Forgotten. Because one emotion hijacked your attention and took the wheel. Focus is fragile, and emotions, when left unchecked, will rip it apart. Most people think focus is about time management, better apps, or to-do lists. But those tools are useless when your emotional state is chaotic. You can't concentrate when your mind is busy fighting a story it hasn't made peace with. You can't create when you're angry. You can't think clearly when you're anxious. And you can't move forward when you're still replaying yesterday's insult. The Stoics didn't chase productivity hacks. They chased control, not of the world, but of the mind. Marcus Aurelius didn't have an iPhone, but he had critics, betrayal, endless pressure. And still he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's not poetry. It's a directive. The problem isn't emotion itself. Emotion is data. It tells you something needs attention. But most men don't use it that way. They let it dominate instead of inform. Anger turns into sarcasm. Fear turns into avoidance. Frustration turns into procrastination. These emotions then steer the day, unconsciously. You think you're making choices, but you're not. The emotion is. This is where discipline begins, not in what you do, but in what you allow to take root in your head. Emotional mastery is not about being numb. It's about being present. When irritation rises, you don't suppress it. You name it. You acknowledge its voice, but you don't let it set the direction. You return to the moment again and again until that becomes your reflex. In practice, this looks simple. You walk into a meeting and someone disrespects you. Instead of firing back or shutting down, you say nothing for 10 seconds. You breathe. You ask yourself, is this mine to carry? That moment of pause, that space, is where power lives. Most people fill that space with noise. Stoics fill it with clarity. But men today aren't taught to pause. They're taught to react. Social media rewards outrage. Culture labels silence as weakness. So the emotional reflexes get worse, not better. And slowly the ability to focus deteriorates. Not because of external distractions, but because of internal chaos. Focus begins in the body. If your heart is pounding and your fists are clenched, no app will save you. But if you train yourself through breath, stillness, self-awareness, you create space between stimulus and response. And in that space, attention can settle. Start small. Next time frustration hits, don't vent, don't post, don't punch a wall. Sit, 3 breaths, shoulders back, count them. That's your anchor. Not because it's soft, but because it puts you back in control. Because real power isn't seen in reaction, it's seen in restraint. The Stoics train this every day, not on retreats, not in ideal conditions, but in the dirt of real life. Epictetus was born a slave. His words weren't theory, they were survival. If someone does wrong, the harm is to himself, he said. Your reaction is your responsibility. That's not a comforting idea, it's a hard one, but it sets you free. Freedom is not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to choose your response despite it. Imagine living a life where no text ruins your morning. No headline steals your calm. No insult makes you doubt who you are. That's not fantasy. That's training. That's emotional strength built from the inside out. And from that strength, focus flows. Because now your attention isn't scattered by noise, it's guided by intention. Now, your work doesn't depend on mood, it depends on will. And now you stop leaking energy into useless reactions. You conserve it for what matters. Try it today. Just once. Let the next trigger hit and don't respond right away. Just breathe. Look at the moment like a Stoic would. Ask, is this within my control? If not, let it go. If yes, calmly, clearly, with purpose. That one pause will feel unnatural at first. But the more you do it, the stronger you get. And eventually, that space becomes your home. A quiet place within where focus lives and nothing can touch you without your permission. Master your emotions and you master the battlefield within. Master that and everything outside becomes manageable. Not easy, but manageable. You don't need to control the world. You just need to stop letting it control you. 4. Focus is power. You sit at your desk and the screen glows. You open one tab, then another. Then your phone lights up. 10 minutes later, you've checked the weather, scrolled past someone else's life, and forgotten what you sat down to do. It happens quietly, not with noise, but with drift. You didn't lose focus, you gave it away, one small surrender at a time. Focus isn't just about finishing tasks, it's about preserving the one thing you never get back, your attention. Where your focus goes, your life flows. Everything you achieve or fail to achieve begins not with action, but with attention. And in a distracted world, attention is currency. If you don't direct it with intention, someone else will profit from your confusion. The mind loves stimulation. It craves novelty, noise, and motion. But growth, deep, lasting growth, lives in the opposite. It lives in stillness, in sustained thought, in focus that doesn't flicker. This is where the real battle begins. Not with others, but with your own impulsive need to escape boredom. Most people think focus is a productivity tool. It's not. It's a survival skill. If you can't focus, you can't think deeply. If you can't think deeply, you can't make meaningful decisions. And if your decisions are shallow, your life will feel the same. Surface level, scattered, directionless. The Stoics knew this long before smartphones. Epictetus warned, "If a man doesn't know which port he's sailing to, no wind is favorable." Without direction, you become reactive. You chase what feels urgent instead of what matters. You work hard, but not wisely. You're exhausted, not from effort, but from dilution. The solution isn't more hours, it's a better energy placement. The Pareto principle says 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. But that 20% only happens when you focus, not for 5 minutes, but long enough to break through the fog and enter clarity. Most men never reach that state because they never sit still long enough to access it. So you must protect your focus like it's sacred. Because it is. That means fewer yeses. That means choosing depth over distraction. It means being ruthless about who and what gets your time. Not because you're selfish, but because you understand the price of attention. Every click, every scroll, every reaction has a cost. Picture this. You wake up and decide not to touch your phone for the first hour. You write down the one thing that actually matters today, not 10, 1. You clear your space, physically and digitally. You shut the door and you sit. 5 minutes go by and you want to escape. That's when the real work starts. That's when most quit. But if you stay, if you breathe, if you stay locked in, your brain stops fighting. The fog lifts. The ideas come. That is your edge. You don't need to move faster. You need to aim better. When you focus, you compress time. 1 hour of pure focus can outwork 10 hours of scattered effort. And you walk away from that hour not just with progress, but with dignity. With the quiet confidence that you showed up for the work, not the world's noise. But most people don't realize what they're giving up. They confuse motion with progress. They let meetings, messages, and meaningless metrics hijack their day. Then they wonder why nothing changes. Why do they feel stuck despite constant activity? The truth is, they're not focused. They're just busy. And busyness is a disguise. It hides the lack of direction underneath. Focus is uncomfortable because it forces clarity. It reveals what matters and what doesn't. It exposes distractions, not just outside you, but inside you. Your doubts, your procrastination, your mental clutter. And that's why it's powerful. Because once you push through, you're sharper. Not just at work, but in life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You should be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved." Focus is that rock. It's the refusal to be pulled into every emotion, every headline, every digital itch. It's a declaration. I decide where my energy goes. So start small. Before your next task, ask, is this essential? If it is, do only that. Turn off the noise, shut the tabs, put the phone in the other room, set a timer for 30 minutes, and give it everything. No checking. No switching. No explaining, just focus. When the timer ends, you'll feel it. Not the rush of dopamine, but the quiet power of alignment. You did what you said you would. You didn't flinch. you didn't drift. That's what builds strength. That's what builds a man who knows his direction. And when you repeat that, day after day, you won't need to chase motivation. You'll be carried by momentum, because where your focus goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your future takes form, quietly, relentlessly, on your terms. 5. Discipline is destiny. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. And when your habits are shaped by comfort, distraction, and excuse, don't expect your life to look any different than it did last year. Motivation is loud, but discipline is quiet. It doesn't shout, it doesn't perform, it just shows up. Again and again, until the result is no longer a matter of luck, but a matter of pattern. Discipline is not about punishment. It's not about pushing yourself to exhaustion. It's about honoring your future more than your mood. It's about doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like doing it. Most people wait for the feeling to act. But the Stoic moves because action itself is the anchor. Discipline is freedom, and freedom begins the moment you stop negotiating with your excuses. Modern life teaches avoidance. Skip the hard part, delay the discomfort, scroll it away, stream over it. But the cost is hidden. Every time you delay what matters, your confidence erodes. Not because someone is judging you, but because deep down, you know you've chosen ease over growth. Discipline isn't about forcing results. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't flinch in the face of repetition. The kind of man whose actions are stable, even when his emotions are not. The Stoics didn't see discipline as a grind. They saw it as alignment. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. That wasn't about shame. It was about identity. You do the work because it's who you are, not because it feels good. And when your identity is built on action, not emotion, life becomes simpler. Not easier, but clearer. Discipline isn't a feeling, it's a rhythm. A morning glass of water before the phone. A workout when your body says stay in bed. A journal entry when your mind wants chaos. These are not big events, they're micro acts of control. And they build something bigger than results. They build trust in themselves. You don't need to believe in your dreams. You need to believe that when the alarm goes off, you'll get up. When you say I'll do it, you'll follow through. That belief, that inner contract, is where power begins. But most people sabotage themselves early. They set goals too big, too vague. They expect change without friction. And when resistance comes, as it always does, they collapse, thinking they've failed. But resistance isn't a sign to stop. It's a signal you're exactly where you should be. If it's uncomfortable, it means it matters. And the man who stays with the discomfort, who moves slowly but steadily through it, wins. Every time. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do one thing consistently. Start with what you avoid. The cold shower, the empty page, the hard conversation. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for showing up. One page written, one workout done, one promise kept. That's where momentum lives. Not in fire, but in friction overcome. The Stoics weren't concerned with comfort. They practiced voluntary hardship, fasting, cold silence, not to prove anything, but to sharpen their minds against the softness of excess. Seneca wrote, set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, is this the condition that I feared? Because when you train yourself to face discomfort willingly, nothing controls you, not fear, not fatigue, not temptation. That's the truth most avoid. Discipline is not natural, it's built, and it's built in boredom, in repetition, in the days when no one is watching. But when it's built, it becomes effortless. The same way brushing your teeth takes no effort, because it's who you are now. So, begin with one rule, a non-negotiable act of discipline. Small, clear, daily. Maybe it's no phone before breakfast. Maybe it's 10 minutes of stillness. Whatever it is, treat it like the law. Let it shape you. Let it be the line you don't cross. And when your body resists, when your mind makes excuses, smile. You're training, because in the end, talent fades, motivation fades, but discipline stays. It doesn't need noise, it doesn't need applause, it just moves, day after day, until the man you want to become is no longer someone you chase, but someone you are. And that is destiny. Not written by luck, but by what you do. especially when no one's watching. 6. Win the war on distraction. The enemy isn't loud, it doesn't kick down your door, it slips in through small openings, just one message, one scroll, one click, and suddenly your mind is gone. Not empty, but overcrowded. Not focused, but fragmented. You're busy, but not present. Awake, but not aware. That's how distraction wins. Not with force, but with frequency. Distraction isn't always about entertainment. Sometimes it shows up as busyness, emails, notifications, background noise. You think you're doing something, but your mind is running in circles, disconnected from depth. And when your mind lives in fragments, your attention dies in pieces. Focus isn't your default anymore. The modern world was built to steal it. Every app, every alert, every algorithm is designed to trigger you, to exploit your attention for profit. You are not the customer, you are the product. Your time, your mind, your choices, they're being rented out to the highest bidder. And if you don't fight for your mind, you'll give it away without knowing it. The Stoics didn't face smartphones, but they understood mental noise. They lived in chaos, wars, politics, betrayal, and still they chose stillness. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Noise is one of those things, and it must be discarded. Not by fleeing, but by choosing stillness over stimulation. Distraction isn't about technology, it's about attention. It's about allowing yourself to drift into things that have no weight, no cost up front. But over time, they steal everything that matters: purpose, focus, presence. You don't need more time, you need fewer interruptions. Start by seeing distraction for what it is: self-abandonment. You open your phone when you feel uncertain. You scroll when something is difficult. You click because you want to delay what you know you must do. And in that delay, you slowly trade your power for ease. Distraction is a habit. So is clarity. You can't have both. Picture this. You sit down to write, but your browser is still open. Your phone is on the table. Notifications are on. You tell yourself you'll just check one thing. 20 minutes later, the page is still blank. But your brain is buzzing. You fed it novelty, but it's starving for depth. That's not a time problem. That's a war you just lost. Now change the setting. Same task, but this time the phone is off. Browser closed. You've blocked 90 minutes for one thing. You breathe, you sit. The first few minutes are hard. Your mind screams for stimulation, but you stay. That's when focus begins. That's when you win. This is not about productivity. It's about freedom. When you can sit with one thing undisturbed, you remember what you're capable of. Not just completing a task, but experiencing flow. Entering a state where time fades and presence deepens. That state isn't rare. It's just rare in distracted people. The Stoics believed in setting boundaries with the mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That means choosing what enters, what stays, what gets your attention. Because every minute given to distraction is a minute stolen from intention. So create rituals that defend your attention. Start your mornings without a screen. Block the first hour for deep work or deep thought. Don't let others set your focus before you do. Create focus zones in your home, spaces where no distraction is allowed. Design your environment to support clarity, not sabotage it. It's not about perfection. You will be distracted. But each time you bring yourself back, you get stronger. Each time you say no to noise, you sharpen your will. It's a practice. And like all Stoic practice, it's built in the small, quiet decisions, over and over, until they become who you are. You don't win this war once. You win it daily. In silence, in structure, in stillness. You choose not to live scattered, not to be manipulated, not to exist with your mind constantly elsewhere. You choose to show up for your life, fully. Distraction is the enemy of depth, and depth is where everything meaningful lives. Your best thoughts, your clearest decisions, your deepest strength. If you want to reclaim them, you must reclaim your attention. Guard it like your freedom depends on it, because it does. And when you do, you'll no longer chase clarity. You'll live inside it, quietly, purposefully, without noise. 7. Flow, the peak of human potential. The most powerful moments in life are quiet, not because nothing is happening, but because everything is aligned. Your mind isn't scattered. Your body isn't resisting. There's no overthinking, no second guessing, just presence, just motion, Just flow. Flow is not a myth. It's not a mystical state reserved for monks, athletes, or artists. It's a human experience, a state of focused immersion where thought and action merge, where you become so involved in what you're doing that time fades and your best work shows up without force. But most people rarely enter this state, not because they can't, but because they're never present long enough for it to begin. Flow doesn't happen in chaos, it happens in stillness. It needs structure, it needs depth, and it begins with focus. You don't stumble into flow, you create the conditions for it to arise. That means shutting out the noise, preparing the mind, and honoring the task in front of you as if it matters. Because it does. The problem is, modern life is built for speed, not depth. Constant alerts, shallow conversations, short attention spans. And in that storm, your ability to engage deeply deteriorates. You multitask, context switch, swipe and scroll, and then wonder why your work feels shallow and your progress feels slow. Flow isn't possible when you're half there. It demands full presence. And that presence is a choice. It's created by ritual, space, and intention. You can't open 10 tabs and expect deep work. You can't let every sound pull your focus and expect creativity to stay. Flow requires respect. It requires you to treat your work, your craft, your thinking as sacred, even if no one's watching. The Stoics wouldn't have used the word flow, but they lived it. Their journals, their silence, their deliberate routines, they weren't just habits. They were entry points to clarity. Marcus Aurelius carved out time daily to write, to think, to return to what mattered. Not because he had free time, but because he couldn't afford not to. In chaos, he built ritual, and in ritual, he found peace. This isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Flow doesn't mean every second is bliss, it means you are in it, fully. You are no longer a divided man. You are no longer checking your phone while pretending to write. No longer mentally somewhere else while physically here. You are one person, in one moment, giving it everything. Flow is where your potential becomes visible. It's where distraction dies and direction begins. It's where you stop chasing motivation and start channeling momentum. But to get there, you must remove the friction. Not just external, but internal. You must release the pressure to perform and instead return to the process. You must trade noise for rhythm, resistance for readiness. Picture it. A quiet morning, no devices. A notebook, a clear workspace, and one intention. You start slow. At first, the urge to escape hits hard. You want stimulation. You want out. But you breathe. You stay. 5 minutes in, the noise fades. 10 minutes, and your thoughts begin to organize. 15, and the ideas come. 20, and you're no longer forcing anything. You're flowing. This is how it starts. Not with magic, with stillness, with simplicity. Most people give up before this point. They expect the flow to feel good right away. It doesn't. It demands patience. It asks you to wait while your mind recalibrates. And if you stay long enough, it rewards you with depth, with focus, with work that feels real. This is where impact is made. Not in shallow bursts of effort, but in deep, sustained engagement. In the zone where your body and brain move as one. Where you look up after 90 minutes and realize you've done what would have taken hours in a distracted state. The world will not create this space for you. You must create it yourself. You must guard it, design it, respect it. That means turning off the unnecessary. That means building entry rituals, a walk, a breath, a phrase that signal it's time to enter. That means knowing when your energy is strongest and structuring your day to match. Flow is not just about productivity. It's about becoming fully alive in what you do. Whether that's writing, building, teaching, creating, thinking, whatever it is, flow makes it meaningful. Because you're not just completing tasks, you're pouring your full self into them. And in return, they shape you. They sharpen you. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Flow is the bridge between those two things. It's where intention becomes action, not through pressure but through presence. Begin by creating a space that invites depth. 1 hour, one task. No phone. Let your mind enter slowly. Don't rush it. Let the world fall away. And once it does, don't leave it. Stay in it. Because in that space, you're not just doing the work, you're becoming the man who owns it, quietly, fully, without force. 8. Design a life that focuses on itself. Focus isn't just something you do, it's something you live inside. If your environment pulls you in every direction, your mind will follow. You can try harder, set more goals, drink stronger coffee, but if your surroundings invite distraction, discipline will always feel like a fight. And every fight drains you, not just physically, but mentally. Eventually, willpower fades, but design remains. A man doesn't rise by force alone. He rises by removing friction. The less energy you spend resisting temptation, the more you have to create, to lead, to act with intention. Your environment either supports your focus or sabotages it. And if you're not shaping it, it's shaping you. Most people try to fix their habits without fixing the container they live in. They blame their lack of motivation when in truth, their desk is cluttered, their phone is always within reach, and their routines are reactive. You can't build clarity in chaos. You can't stay calm in a storm if you live inside it. The Stoics understood this. They didn't live accidentally. Their days weren't reactive. They designed their time, their spaces, and their rhythms. Seneca said, "Order your life as if you had to leave it today." That kind of order requires awareness. It demands that you stop treating your focus like a personality trait and start treating it like a system. You wake up, the room is silent. Your phone is not the first thing you touch. You walk slowly, you drink water, you don't dive into the flood, you move with intent. You sit in a space that's clean, clear, and signals to your brain. This is where you think. This is where you do deep work. That's not just a better morning. That's a better life. The biggest mistake people make is believing they need more motivation. What they need is a better structure. Habits don't survive in clutter. Clarity doesn't emerge in confusion. Even the most disciplined man will stumble if every part of his environment is designed to distract him. You don't need to move to the mountains. You just need to stop giving every device, every app, every person access to your attention at all hours. Boundaries are not selfish, they're survival. A door that closes, a phone that stays outside the workspace, a routine that tells your nervous system, now we focus, now we create. These are not luxuries, they are foundations. It's not about rigid rules, it's about rhythm. When your life has rhythm, your mind doesn't have to guess. It knows what comes next. It can settle into the work, into the silence, into the moment, and from that stillness, the best of you begins to rise. The Stoics practiced this not because they were productivity gurus, but because they knew the mind needs structure to stay strong. Without it, emotion takes over. Distraction invades. Weakness finds its way in through the cracks of disorder. But with structure, simple, daily, repeatable, you gain strength without forcing it. Design your day the way an architect designs a building, with purpose. Where does your best energy go? Put your hardest task there. When does your mind need rest? Don't fill that space with noise. Let it breathe. Let it reset. Let it heal. Every part of your day is a chance to reinforce the man you are becoming, or pull you further from him. You don't need to build the perfect routine. You need to build one that's yours. One that aligns with your values. One that respects your energy. One that protects your focus like a priceless resource, because it is. Let the world rush. You move deliberately. Let others react. You respond. Let the noise shout. You return to silence. That is the life you're creating, not through willpower alone, but through thoughtful design. Not through pressure, but through presence. Start today, not with a complete overhaul, but with one space, one corner of your life where focus lives. Clean the desk, turn off the notifications, light a candle, play music that calms you. Sit down and give your full self to one thing, not because it's urgent, but because it's yours. That is how you begin to build a life that doesn't fight for focus, it flows with it. And when that space becomes normal, build another. A morning ritual, an evening closure, a midday reset. Let each part of your day serve your attention, not steal it. In time, the man who used to wrestle with distraction will become the man who lives above it. Not by fighting it constantly, but by building a life where focus doesn't need to be chased. It simply exists, because you designed it to. What you focus on shapes who you become. Not just in theory, but in the smallest actions you repeat, in the thoughts you choose to entertain, and in the way you carry yourself through the quiet hours of your day. You don't need a louder life. You need a more focused one. And focus begins with thought, then becomes a habit, then becomes identity. The The Stoics understood this long before neuroscience gave it a name. They taught that a disciplined mind creates a disciplined life, that energy follows attention, and that the man who governs his thoughts is never at the mercy of the world. We've talked about many things: emotional control, mental clarity, the weight of your inner voice, and how a simple routine can change the course of your day. But none of it matters unless you apply it. Not someday, not when life calms down. Now. Start with one thought. Train it, hold it, replace it if it pulls you down. Then build your mornings with intention. Create silence where chaos used to live. Practice willpower not as punishment, but as self-respect. And above all, design a life that doesn't fight against your focus, but protects it. You won't master this in a week, but you don't need to. You only need to return to it, each morning, each breath, each choice. That's how power flows, quietly, from within. If something today spoke to you, share it below. Tell us what you're taking with you, and what you're letting go. Your experience might be the reminder someone else needs. This isn't motivation. It's your invitation to build a focused life from the inside out, one clear thought at a time.